segment we are starting called Push Talk. And what we're gonna do every day, we're gonna bring a different episode to keep you guys up, um, keep you guys updated what we got going on here with Black Push. But the show is called Push Talk, and here I do have the founder of Push Talk. Well, actually, Black Push slash Push Talk, Mr. Sean himself, and we're gonna talk about the past a visit he just had this weekend at DC. So real quick, if you can tell the people what happened this weekend and what made you go to DC and what did you get out of it this week?
So we went to DC because there was about a little bit over 100 pastors from around the country who came together to go to DC to kind of protest what's going on with this across in Georgia per se, because Georgia was the kickoff to all of this. I just want to make sure it was going live. Georgia was the kickoff to all this, but with the voting rights bill that has been passed in Georgia, Florida, Texas now, or Texas is working on one now, and throughout the whole state, they're passing different voter restriction bills. And we went to DC as faith leaders, labor union leaders, and just community leaders to say, like, no, that this is not okay, and that Congress and the Senate needs to get their act together and pass legislation to be able to prevent these states from being able to just go out and randomly do whatever they want to do. Limit you from passing water out in line and voting lines, limit the amount of actual drop boxes they have early voting, and limit the early voting days. In Texas, they're even being more radical in Texas, where I mean, even in Georgia, they're talking about purging over I think it's like 50,000 people from the voter list. So I mean, it's just, we wanted to be able to go to the Capitol and say, listen, we need you guys to get it together and kind of work out. So we did the first night, I think we did an event where we had a church service. Second day, we did an event where we kind of we had a press conference. Then we marched to the White House and we prayed in front of the White House and sung songs in front of the White House. And then after that, we had like a whole lesson on like how we go back into our communities to make an impact. And then the third day, we just kind of lobbied different Congress and senators.
Okay, were you able to talk to anybody per se, or just you just got or y'all protested and just to be heard?
So I didn't per se get involved in that portion of it. I did meet with a few people, different representatives, and one senator while I was up there. But there was a group of us well, not us, but a group of us that was there who actually went to the White House, and they met with people at the White House as well. So, and that dialogue is supposed to continue between the White House.
Okay, for those that may not know what's going on, has the bill been passed yet?
So in Georgia, the bill has been passed. The bill has been passed in Georgia. The bill has been signed into law in Georgia.
Wow.
The bill has been passed in Florida. It has been signed into law into Florida. In Texas, it almost passed, but a lot of the Democrats in the House actually walked out, during the vote, out during the vote, and paused it. So from what I understand, the governor there is going to bring them back into session to kind of push the bill through, but it will pass probably. Texas.
So is that legal? Like if they pass it, can you vote and get it redone? Can it be redone?
No. The only way to get it redone is to vote the people who voted for the bill out of office.
So right now we pretty much Georgia stuck with their law.
We are.
So protest is what for the next?
So what we're doing now is that the federal government laws always supersede state laws per se. So federal government, for example, I use the minimum wage as an example. In the state of Georgia, the minimum wage is $5.35 an hour. But because of the fact that federal minimum wage is $7.25, Georgia can't pay anybody less than $7.25. So federal supersedes. What we're doing now is that the federal government has two pieces of legislation out there. One is called the Fair Justice Act. One is called the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill, and the other one is called the For the People Act. They're actually debating the For the People Act today, which probably won't pass through the Senate, but it passed through the House. But we're trying to convince the Senate to get rid of the filibuster rule, so that if they get rid of the filibuster rule, require just a simple majority versus them having to have a 60 senators vote for a bill.
So let me ask you, what was the experience for you? I know you you do a lot of stuff here in Georgia, so to be on that particular, I don't know if you call it the plane, the bus, just to be around that atmosphere in DC, how did that feel for you?
It was cool. A lot of people who I had the opportunity to kind of work with are people who've been like on the battlefield longer. Some of these people have walked and marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. They remember his "I Have a Dream" speech from DC. They were there. So some of these people have actually worked with him, and that was pretty interesting. There's a guy by the name, and I want to give him a special shout out, Bishop Jackson, who's over the AME Church for the state of Georgia. He's the president, I think, of the state of Georgia for AME Church. But he actually has been in the news a lot because he's called for a Home Depot boycott, and he's the one who initiated that. So to be on the platform with all those kind of people, and I think we have pictures that we'll upload into the video later, but to be on the platform or be able to intertwine with those kind of people, I mean, it was amazing. We had Pastor Jamal Bryant was a part of this as well. He was over there. Dr. Jamal Bryant was over there. We had Pastor Lee May was there, Reverend Jackson, and so many different people from the faith-based community who don't come from like small backgrounds in the faith-based community, right? It was just really cool to be on a platform with them or to be able to tie knots with them to kind of push this forward. And, you know, one of the things that's interesting about me is that I don't believe in kind of recreating the wheel. If someone's already doing that, what's the point of me doing it kind of deal? My biggest thing is not to recreate the wheel, but to be able to take the wheel that's already there and kind of be able to work with the people who are already doing it, right? What's the point of me trying to do something that somebody else is already doing? So that's pretty much where I'm at. That's why I like partnering with other organizations. We actually, believe it or not, was in a conference call yesterday with, and I think you were somewhat in the room when I was in this conference call, but with a group called the Atlanta, I forgot what the name of the group is, but the group is literally designed around the fact that if, let's say you're in the city of Atlanta and a Atlanta police officer pulls you over and they do something wrong, you can call this organization and they actually investigate the police officer. And they do a whole report on it. And I think it's called the Atlanta Review Commission or something like that.
Okay.
But not a lot of people even know about that organization. So for me, it's like I do fight against police brutality and suppression. From the aspect of that, like, why do I need to go and start my own thing in Atlanta when there's a group already doing it, right? Why not partner with them and help to make their organization better, you know, and work through them and work with them.
And just think, not as just a colored people, just think as a people. We all got together and we just supported each other on our, you know, it's like you said, instead of starting another one, just help that person out.
Right.
There's so many, we seem to just wash out so many things because everybody got I. So I'm glad you went to be a part of it. I'm glad to see that everybody came together as one to fight for the same thing. And it just wasn't a race thing. It's a vote that affects all colors, races in that particular predicament. So I appreciate what y'all doing. Always with BlackPush Talk. And tomorrow, I guess we'll talk about the next step, what we got going on this weekend. I'm pretty sure you got something going on.
Yeah, and this one thing I do want to just point out, like I do recommend that again, not recreating the wheel. So if people are out there and they want to be involved. I mean, it doesn't just always, I mean, we need your support. We need volunteers. We need people out there to support. But at the same time, I mean, it takes money to run these kind of things, right? So I do invite everybody who's out there watching to go to www.blackpush.org and they can make a donation. Beautiful thing about our organization is really cool, and I'm putting this out there now, that we actually have an app on Android. So if you go to the Android store and hit BlackPush, there's an app, and within a few days we'll have an app on Apple. It's being reviewed now by Apple, but hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow it'll be on Apple Store. So we have an app so people can stay up to date on what we have going on and kind of be able to go back and rewatch these videos.
We got Cash App coming up soon too. I'm joking.
No, definitely not Cash App.
It was a joke by Ryan Gobert. I'm joking with my man Sean. Because, you know, he always serious. I like to get him smile, laugh a little bit. He about his business, man. The man is always pushing for the community. Again, I'm going to say it again, for all races. And I love what you're doing, man. I wish I would have made the trip. But I know y'all was tight with room and who can go, who couldn't go.
Yeah.
So
there's always another time. I mean, the work doesn't just stop here. And like I said, the Senate is debating it today. It would probably fail the Senate. And we need to push people out there like Joe Manchin, Kristen from the senator from Arizona. We need to push them to get rid of the filibuster, because the only way we're going to be able to get some of these things through is by getting rid of the filibuster. So that's our next big push, because we need the John Lewis Voting Rights Act enabled. We need the George Floyd bill to be voted on and ran through Congress. So I mean, those are things that we need to stay focused on. Because remember that a lot of times when things happen on a state level, and even this is a really important part. So one of the things that one party has been doing in particular recently is what we call gerrymandering. And what gerrymandering is that they kind of they take the map of the state and they reallocate like how people are able to vote or who people are able to vote for, like basically in that state. So there was a Republican congressman that was on TV yesterday, literally saying like, we got this, basically saying like we're limiting the way they can vote. We're doing the maps ourselves so we can benefit ourselves and make the election about us, right? That's not the way election's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a free society where people go out and can freely vote for who they want to. And as a citizen, whether or not you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care what you are, all of us should be in the fight to protect the vote, period, right? Everybody should have the right to vote. And one of the things that I remember they used to hear the term with driver's license. They'll tell you that driving is not a right, it's a privilege, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the U.S., voting is not a privilege; it should be a right, period. And that's one of the things that I think that we got to make sure that we do better about.
Do we have anything pushing right now for felons? Like, cause you got a lot of people. Again, we don't. We both can talk about our circles growing up, and
Right.
we know somebody who did a crime, but that's not who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's stuck now for years and months or whatever it may be, and can't get his voter registration. So are we pushing anything out there right now for that?
So one of the things that's really cool is that a lot of states have already passed like the laws that state that once a person has served their time, whether they're convicted felon or not, they get their rights automatically restored.
Okay.
Georgia's one of those states.
Okay.
Florida recently just passed that bill, maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I personally, there's some states, literally, I think it's like Vermont or something like that, and don't quote me on it, but there's some states that actually send ballots to people who are incarcerated while they're in jail. And I'm once again, I'm under that metaphor, right? Because one of the things about it, let's say you are a judge, right? And you're duly elected judge by the people, right? If you're about to sentence me, but you realize that, hey, if I could put this man away for 5 years and then throw 3 years probation on that after that, and he still can't vote, that's 8 years, right? And in 8 years, I've probably been sitting in this shit for 15 years already. 8 years, I'll be retired and I'm done, right? There's no accountability for you to sentence me fairly, right? But when you know that, hey, even though I'm locked up, I still have a ballot that's coming, I can still vote and vote you out. You're going to think twice about your decision. And it's not about us just trying to tie judges' hands. It's about the fact that everybody needs to be held accountable, right? One of the things that people understand, like in the state of Georgia, we've been talking about this, that the only elected law enforcement officer is the sheriff of a county, right? Your police chief, or your local police chief, is not elected by the people. Only the person who is the sheriff. So those are things that once again, that tells you that the importance of voting and why we need to vote. So that's one of the things that we're pushing for, is that we have to kind of roll back some of these policies, because even for me, like to be able to say that if you're in line and it's a hot day and it's 80-degree weather and you're out there trying to vote, if I bring you a glass of water, a bottle of water, I could be charged with a misdemeanor. That's crazy. I'll be fine, right? That's crazy. Not to say that, I mean, and you think about the last election, we had people out there who had food trucks out there.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm speaking not from being friends with you or actually brother with you. I'm trying to figure out, what does that got to do with anything that makes sure somebody not fall on the floor or die on the floor on your property, make sure they hygiene. I mean, what does that got to do?
The argument becomes that they think that there's like politicians who are out there running for office who sends their people out there to pass out water and kind of try, because there's a rule about being able to kind of like try to talk to people in line who are getting ready to vote. You can't try to sway their vote one way or another.
So they use it. Okay.
But they're trying to use that, but the reality is that that's not happening.
Okay.
The reality is that, and even in the last election, the people who are out there passing out water were like nonprofits, like our nonprofit, who by law we can't be, based upon my status as a nonprofit, I can't go and promote a Democrat or Republican, because that's just not.
That don't make no sense. I know, because I know good and well whoever got it, when they got in their car that day, while they was driving to the voters spot, they already knew who they was voting for months before.
Regardless, right?
So they're in line. Nothing you gonna tell me in line
is gonna
make me change my mind within them 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just the game that people are trying to play. And we just once again.
Looking for that's all.
Yeah, and we just got to be more, we got to be more understanding. We got to be more visual. And one of the things I'll end by saying is that even for young people, every young person out there, if you're 17 and you get ready to turn 18 this year, go register to vote. What they want to do is they want to keep people discouraged about voting. And if they feel like, anything, like if they feel like if they make it harder for you, then you're less apt. It's like, think about it like this. It's like people who are like, you ever bought something and then in order to return it, you had to jump through like 10,000 hoops in order to return it? The reason why they make it so difficult because their assumption is that, hey, if we make it difficult, then that person won't come back and try to return it, or they won't do this, right? That's the same process. So we need to make sure that we let them know, like, nah, you can make it as difficult as you want to, but we're still going to get out here and vote. We're still going to get out here and do the right thing, because voting, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, if you want to give me a voice, you give me a vote.
Yeah, and I used to be that ignorant guy. Up until maybe 8 years ago, I was that guy that said, "Man, my vote don't count. I'm one vote. My vote don't count. I'm one vote." I was that guy. So I'm glad people push me to think positively and do the right thing. So I'm glad you guys are getting these guys young.
Yeah.
Get them into high schools. I hope it said some 18 instead of high school, but colleges and all that kind of stuff.
Get them registered. And one of the things that's crazy is that I don't remember, it was like maybe 2 or 4 years ago. There was an election in Virginia or South Carolina, one of those places over there to the east of us. And literally, it was a tie vote, which means that it came out like they had both had the same amount of votes, right? And they won, literally, the person who won by a straw vote. So they had to pull a straw, whoever won. So, I mean, once again, it just shows you that every vote counts. Literally every vote counts.
And I can say this not to take from you, but if you're somebody out there in the community or somebody that's well known, do your part.
Right.
If you know you could be influencing these kids, because it could be a local rapper, a local singer, a popular lawyer in the neighborhood, a popular public activist. I mean, just if you know you somebody in the neighborhood that can make a difference, do your part.
Right.
Speak up. Get these kids. Get who you got to get. Do your part. Period.
And train them while they're young.
Got to.
Yeah.
But hey, Sean, good talking to you like always, my man.
With your little ring. Or is that Georgia?
That's Georgia Canes.
Okay.
It was semi-pro team, so it was bad in Atlanta. That's a whole nother show though. But hey, till tomorrow, 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock tomorrow, Push Talk. Again, we'll see y'all tomorrow, and you never know what we're gonna talk about. I'll let y'all later.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought about it. I'm gonna edit anyway. Hey, lunch already? Hey, lunch already?